Welcome to the 6th episode of the podcast that's not a podcast about long-range EVs. As always, I'm Joe from JK EV and joined by...
It's your regular EV dad, John. I hope you're well. How are you doing, Joe?
Pretty good. How have you been?
Surviving. I got to get my car washed. It's filthy. It's absolutely filthy. With all the fires that I was driving through up in Oregon, and we had a little bit of rain. I mean, like a sprinkling, and I didn't realize how bad it was until there was a guy charging next to me in Anderson, Northern California, with his brand new blue Pro S ID4, which he'd driven up from Southern California, from just outside LA. My car looks like it's on its last legs by comparison. My car looks like a barn find. How no, we're going to talk about trip planning, but let's talk about some other planning first. How far away are we from getting doors? Because I've seen the comments when this is on your thing, and people are wanting you to have a professional background. Apparently, like I'm seeing a few extra paint touches. Have you had the roof painted in there or something?
The ceiling has been painted, so progress has been made.
Yeah.
Doors, like everything, is back ordered because that's the way the world is right now. I'm glad to see that you made it back from your trip, so that at least you made it home safe. I'm just less than 30 hours away from heading to Montana, so hopefully these fires don't affect my destination, but I guess that will be seen.
Well, it's going to be interesting, and so we should. You know what? I think the fact that you're going to Montana, I think we should talk about planning. So let's do this in stages. We're not planning as a whole, but let's talk first of all about finding, because I am still vexed, I tell you, by the article in Axios. I just annoyed the bejesus out of me, and then somebody did. But I'm not going to link to it, because this writer doesn't need the hits and the clicks. They need taking out the back and beating with a clue by 4. We have an interesting situation where by the way, I'm just looking at the this might give you some pause, my friend. All of the we're going to have to change our language about the Dakotas. I've noticed on 90, a whole load of CCS chargers are coming online.
I see the exact same thing on my screen, and
they weren't there a few days ago.
Not when I was planning my trip.
Yeah, they're not there yet. You're still going to have to go on 80, but maybe you come back on 90. Who knows? Yeah, so we're not going to give any publicity to this article, but this writer was given a press car, a Mustang Mach-E, and complained how hard it was to find chargers, and how he kept finding Tesla superchargers, and just idiocy. It's the difference between diesel and gas, not anything else, and it's really easy to find this. And Joe, I don't know if you found this as well. One of the things I love about, these 20-minute charges is we often meet people. I know we're starved of human interaction during these COVID times. But I would say at most of the charges, I've met somebody that's new to electric vehicles, like, this is their first minor or major trip. And even some have had them a couple of years and they don't know about the resources that are available. Lady I met the other day had driven 30 miles to this Electrify America charger location because she knew where it was. There's chargers much closer to where she lives. She doesn't have level 2 at home. I'm like, wait, you're burning 30 odd miles in each direction. You've just taken your 240 mile range car down to 180 mile range car. Anyway, let's get on with these. And what I've got, I've set this up, Joe, and hopefully this will work, so I can actually show some of the apps on my phone, so people can see what these things look like. So before we get to the big chargers, to the long distance stuff, I thought it'd be useful if we just talk about the the local charge, finding level 2 chargers when you're out and about. That's okay with you?
Yeah, sounds pretty good. I mean, that's what I use Plugshare for, probably more than anything. Trip planning is only a smaller use case, but on almost a daily basis, I log into Plugshare if I'm driving somewhere.
It is. It's what we do. Let me. So what I'm going to do, if this works, I'll be very happy if it works. I'm going to share with you what my phone. Let me share my phone screen with you. So how do I do it? I go to here.
And if this doesn't work, it'll be edited out and you'll never see.
All right. So, there we go. All right. So there is Copilot London looking cute back in the day. And so this is my regular phone. This is my my everything phone. You've heard me talk about the RV. These are all my RV apps where I'm finding and where I find gas stations, and we also rent out our RV. And I do, but nothing special here. How I find hotels and accommodation. I'm titanium with Marriott and platinum with IHG, and I can't say enough good things about tripping. I just booked a plane ticket for a trip in September. I'm very excited. I'm very, very excited. But then here is my car setup. So I thought I'd just go through a couple of these things, not in any particular order. CarNet is the one that we use for my Volkswagen to control, turn on the air conditioning, charging profiles, things like that. ChargeHub is I'm playing with it, but it's basically a fancy looking version of Plugshare, which we will spend a lot of time on today. ChargePoint we'll talk about in a minute, and we'll get to that first. Electrify America, obviously very familiar. EV Connect is an alternative to Electrify America. They have a lot of 50 kilowatt chargers around the country. They have partnerships with a number of gas station chains in regional locations. I always joke, if it's not 9 times out of 10, if it's not Electrify America and it's not EV Go, then there's a good chance it might be an EV Connect if it's an older unit. We then have Greenlots, which I think they were acquired or have a strong partnership with Shell, and they've been building out chargers all over the country. And we'll show you their networks in a minute in a different app with that, make it a little bit easier. Park Mobile is how I pay for parking around here. The Windy app, nothing to do with charging. I use this because it tells me what the wind conditions are.
Yeah, traditionally it's a pilot's, and what would it be called? What's the word?
Piloting?
Yeah, for planes.
Yeah, and so we can see here right now there is a windstorm. I'm going to guess this is a tornado somewhere down. Actually, the good news is, well, the bad news if this is on the outside of Hawaii, from what I can tell. But we have a weather system up here in northern America. Let me just go to where I am here in San Jose right now, and I would say this is about accurate. There's very little wind right now, but it gives you the direction. You can see what you can zoom into where you are, and it'll give you a forecast over the next couple of hours, which I'm playing right now. And all you really care about is headwinds or tailwinds, crosswinds. It depends on the situation, but it just gives you an idea of what's going on, and because wind will affect your consumption. Let's not dwell on that. Other things here, I think, where these are, and Volta is these are the free charging people in malls and all sorts of places. I found them in.
We have them around here as well.
Yeah, they're usually level 2. Right now, there's one free down here at the Eastridge Mall. Eastridge Mall is not somewhere you want to go and charge if you can help it. I wouldn't go there if I could help it, full stop.
Very good, simple units and free.
Yep,
So
always free,
helpful to have.
up to 2 hours. But what's interesting, and let me just see if I can find one. where was I? I forgot where it is now. They do have DC fast chargers these days.
I wasn't aware of that.
They do. They have some 50 kilowatt DC fast chargers, which were. Oh, here we go. So you see the big here, this extra circle that we have here. This dark blue circle. So this is when it comes up. In
yep.
Clackamas.
There it is.
They have 50 kilowatt CCS chargers, and these are free for up to 30 minutes. So you do have to pay after 30 minutes. It's not expensive, but 30 minutes will do a lot for you with a CCS charger, regardless of your car. Anyway, that's Volta, and it's worth knowing about them. So then let's get to the main app. So we'll come to Plugshare, like I said, in a minute. But one of the things that everybody's going to need on day one of having an electric vehicle is an account with Plugshare, because sorry, not Plugshare, with ChargePoint, because the ChargePoint chargers and also payment system are it's the #1 source. So right now I'm just checking my settings here so that I'm only showing you the ones that are available and that are let me just put this on back to 17772. There we go. So these are all the ChargePoint only level 2 chargers around me. So there's actually 6 at the Indian Temple just around the corner. And then you can just see by the numbers. It's kind of crazy. Now, a lot of these are, so for instance, this is my old, this collection here is my former employer, Aruba, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, and also Palo Alto. And they are, they're free if you work there because they give you access on an account. But otherwise, they charge 20 cents a kilowatt for a stranger just to turn up and use those things. Yeah, this is Silicon Valley, so we do have an excessive number of them. But you see even, just all these 2s are in car parks. These 58, these ones here are at a railway station, malls, all these. You'll always see charge points. Pardon me. You'll also see, this is a fantastic piece of infrastructure. I'm very proud of this. So you see this 54 that we have here, Joe?
Yep.
That is free charging. It's at a reduced rate. You'll notice it says reduced power and only half a kilowatt, which sounds absolutely nothing. However, those are all in the long-term parking at San Francisco Airport. Yeah. So if you think about San Francisco, when you're in an airport, you're usually there for a couple of days. If you're in the long-term parking, where you have to take the bus or the SkyTrain, you're not doing a same-day trip in and out on those situations. And so this will you can just plug in and you'll be charged when you get home. With a full battery, so just a really good service. But this is the ChargePoint app, and you can see how intuitive it is. And if we were to pretend just for a second that I was going to, if I was going to go and charge up at the temple around the corner, then I can actually I can select the station I'm in front of, and I can actually hit the start to charge button, and it will remotely, once I'm connected. More often than not, I will use the RFID. If I've got the app open, I can just touch the RFID pad on the charger. This is where I'm looking to see if I've got my car keys in my pocket. I haven't, and I still have. And I recommend, Joe, I don't know if you did this. I actually, when I did my road trip, I paid a couple of bucks extra to get a new card from ChargePoint, because they do issue a physical RFID card. Some of the locations we go to, you don't get great self-service. And
I had just gotten one before my previous trip, so I got an EVgo card as well as a ChargePoint card.
Yeah,
and completely agree. There was multiple times that there's no way I could have activated with the app. The card was a lifesaver.
Yeah. My favorite one, I think, actually the connectivity was actually fine now, but historically, Weed, Northern California, it's a little bit on the ropey side, and I was glad I had my my card. So that's
something important to
please.
Something important to note with ChargePoint is the prices will be different everywhere you go because they are set by the place they are installed. They're not owned by ChargePoint, they're just serviced by ChargePoint. So if you look at one charger and it's a little pricey for your taste, chances are go down the road, it might be a different price.
Yeah. Now, I'm just changing this to DC fast charger because ChargePoint does offer a large number of DC fast chargers. I'm hoping that my wife sends me something inappropriate other than just to remind me to make a booking for the kid to go to Gilroy Gardens at the weekend. Now, the irony is we don't have it. Well, we have a number of them. So these are all DC. These are all ChargePoint DC fast chargers. And, you know, like you said, the prices are set locally. And, you know, one of the things I like about this app is it shows you a picture of them as well. It is useful. The other thing you can also do is you can pick favorites. If there's some you want to use on a regular basis, let me just click on it again, go into the details. You can actually hit the star at the top and save it as a favorite. So I have a couple that I've saved as favorites just because I find myself going there on a regular basis. Now, in the settings, and I'm hitting the filter thing, you can see other networks chargers in here as well. However, and this is a personal preference, I tend to use the Plugshare app for that. Now we're going to show you two sides of this. We're going to show you the app side. Oh, this is where I was charging just the other day. I met a chap called Chris with a Chevy Bolt who was on his way from Eureka all the way up to Portland at close to midnight, and his delightful dog that Co-Pilot London took an instant liking to. And so right now, let me just bring this back down to where I am. Right now in my settings, I have this set so that I can, and I'll work my way down here. I'm not bothered about traffic. Traffic's traffic. I want to have access to public stations. I don't care if they're in use or not. By the time I get there, they might not be. Require a fee. I always have that enabled. You can actually search for just free charging. You can do it as a preference, but you know, it's not always the best thing in the world. And this is a great thing when you're road tripping, you can actually specify whether it's close to hotels or not. And this doesn't mean it's actually at the hotel. My understanding is they have a geotag system that says it's within half a mile. So it's something you could walk to. When you drill down into it, you can obviously get more information. I'm going to miss out the minimum power bit for a second. We'll come back to that. I've got my connectors. Now, right now, when we'll focus this just on, I say we'll do fast charges after, but I'll kind of bring it all together here. I would normally have J1772 selected. I also have the Tesla selected because like Joe, I have my Tesla tap. There's a link in the description if you want one of your own. And that allows me to use Tesla destination chargers. And in fact, as I think about it, on the trip I was just on, I was actually using, on 2 occasions, I overnight charged with my Tesla Adapt charging adapter. You can also, like yeah, it's fantastic. NEMA 1450, if you've done what I've done, and I will put a link to the video, I show this, and in fact, we talked about this on the last, not a podcast with Brandon Flash. He does the same thing. He sold his Tesla Model S. He now has an ID4. He has a Tesla Adapt, but he kept his Tesla mobile charger and all the adapters that he had with it, same as I've got. And that one of the key ones there is the 1450, which you'll find at RV parks and other locations. So let me just deselect those for a second, because otherwise we'll you know what, let's leave them on. Let's see what. And so just local to me, sure enough, we can see the ones we mentioned before. but we can now see all these CCS chargers as well. Let me go into the network side for a second, and I have everything selected. Now, this isn't what this isn't where I charge. This is where I could charge. One of the things I do just to give myself a little bit of to denoise the environment. Quite often, if I'm on the road, I'll set it to 70 kilowatts minimum charging. The effect of that is you'll notice that, first of all of the level 2 chargers have now disappeared.
Unfortunately, if you move the map over by me, it's not as there's not a plethora of chargers as you can see for yourself.
Yeah, there's a couple of holes in the network, but we'll talk about that in a second. And with good news, which is we can share that as well. But here we can see most of these are Electrify America around here, but there will be a few charge point connectors as well. Oh, good, they've opened that one in Yosemite. Yep, so here we go. This is a 120 kilowatt through EV Connect. We mentioned at the beginning of this, which is in the middle of this is a free wire unit. In fact, I used one of these, a free wire unit just outside San Diego a few weeks ago. So this is the app. But when it comes to planning a trip, in fact, before I can move on, Joe, anything else you'd like to add about on the app side of things before we get into the planning side of things?
I would just say I use Plugshare most often for when I'm on my way to a charger. I'll go in and read some of the comments from previous people that have used it to see maybe handle 1 or handle 2 worked better. And that's where it's very useful. And also a tip to anyone else out there that does have Plugshare. It's a very good idea, very helpful to everyone else if you check in whenever you are charging. So we get an idea of which chargers are working, which chargers are not.
And speaking of checking in, if you haven't already, please, because Joe and we talked about this earlier on, our channel is going through a little bit of a hard part of the growth curve right now. It costs you nothing to subscribe, but the mere act of you subscribing encourages the Google algorithm to share our content with more people. It has an exponential rolling effect. So take this moment to hit the subscribe button on whichever channel this is showing on, and then also go into the description and click on the other person's and subscribe and hit that bell, because we've got great content, not just the podcast. It's not a podcast. We got great road trip videos that you can watch. We've got more in the can. I've got a number of collaborations with other EV enthusiasts coming in, including my recent conversations with Sandy Monroe and others. So hit that button. Costs you nothing, means everything to us. I want to get to 1,000 subscribers so that we can do live mobile stuff in the future and things we have planned later in the summer. There's a reason for this. Let me share my screen. Now, this is Plugshare in the web-based application. So I'm just at plugshare.com. Crucially, because I'm logged in, you'll see here regularly VDAD, and I'm logged in the app. Anything I do here gets automatically saved into the app as well, which is fantastic. So a couple of things we'll just talk about here. Selecting which plugs is really easy. Right now we've got it on CCS. I can also add J1772s. If I hit show all, because I have a Volkswagen, it doesn't naturally let me have the Tesla because it doesn't consider it to be compatible. But like we said already, we have the Tesla adapter. And then that allows me to basically see everything I could or would possibly want to access. The other thing which I have enabled in here is coming soon. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, I want to just declutter this. Well, what I'm going to do is just let me get rid of the level 2 chargers and we'll talk about building out a trip. So there's two apps that we use every day of the week for planning long range journeys. One of them is Plugshare, and the other one is a Better Route Planner. There are some differences between them that have tremendous value. But how you use them is all about you. So Joe, when you're driving, you using the Volkswagen inbuilt sat nav system for a lot of your long distance stuff, correct?
For what it's worth, yes.
Well, let me add to that. Because of my issue, because of issue is the wrong word, but because of we needed clean data for this data dump we're doing this week. My trip to Seattle or northern Washington, I didn't have my dongle and I didn't use a Better Route Planner, and I had to rely on that.
Yeah, I can. If you look at any of my road trip videos, the first thing I will do is type in my destination, and the first thing the car will say, "No available chargers found."
I didn't have that, but it dynamically finds chargers, but it has some interesting ideas like pulling over a level 2 charger for 7 hours, as opposed to the 150 kilowatt one that was a quarter of a mile away from it.
Yeah. It seems to not push you towards Electrify America chargers, which I don't understand why. If they're both within a quarter mile of each other, it'll send you to the slow one.
You know, you raise a good question, and so I'll answer. I can't tell you what it is, but I've noticed in recent weeks. So I noticed it on my way back. The Electrify America chargers are now showing up in ways, which has happened before. So let me. We know for the most part that we're going to be charging at Electrify America, but what I'm just going to put ChargePoint and Electrify America because that covers 90% of what we're going to hit on any given day. Let's build a trip. Joe, you know what? I want to come and visit you. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
All right. So I'm going to start a trip. I'm going to go to Trip Planner, plan a new trip. Okay, this is not new to me. Apparently, there's some new features. San Jose, California, and you do have to click on it. Joe, give me a town that's relatively close to you.
Wheeling, Illinois.
Okay, give me one I can spell, or give me the spell.
How about Arlington Heights? There it is.
All right, so we've got 2,000 miles to go. Now, you will instantly, for those of you playing this game at home, notice that there are a lack of chargers here across Wyoming. Let's just Joe and I made a conscious decision about this a while ago, and we discussed this, that we are not going to report on news because we don't want to get into the news gathering. We want to report on our experience. However, Electrify America a couple of weeks ago, and thank you, I'm just borrowing this graphic right now that was well, I'm sure this was created by Electrify America, but it was hosted on Inside EVs, so thank you very much. Part of the quality of the image is a bit low res, but you'll notice that they have built out across 80. Our understanding from the language they used is there's going to be charging, it's already charging in Salt Lake City, but Evanston, Laramie, Cheyenne, and I assume they'll have to put one in somewhere around Rock Springs as well. But that route will be, so that will finally allow you to connect with Nebraska. Also, they've built out they're building out the Montana and the Dakotas as well. And then as Joe was saying, they've put additional elements in around the Chicago area, and then everywhere else they're just filling in. It's just ones and twos to connect already existing pieces of network. When you consider you can go, you know, these 250-mile vehicles, you can, you know, by putting in some strategic, what I call north-south charges, you can bring the east-west network together. And remember, this is only Electrify America. Other people are still building. In fact, let's just show people what we were talking about at the beginning of this. Let me just put all of the toggle all. Let me just save this and I'll come back to it in a few seconds. And so here we can see this. Joe and I were talking about this. It's kind of interesting. When we did our trip, we had to go across 80. There was no two ways about it. We had to go through Nebraska. And it's actually interesting, Joe. Some of these seem to be quite new, actually, in recent weeks. This didn't stop there. But here in South Dakota, this is an entirely new section. So Sioux Falls has existed for a while. Oh no, it's not. I apologize. So it's the Harley Davidson dealership. Because the Harley Davidson Livewire has CCS, you will find that most dealerships have a 22 kilowatt CCS charger, which they do charge for. But yeah, this looks awesome. So this is going to be, does it say the network? It just says no network right now. So I assume this is going to be regional. This looks like it's another Greenlots or EV Connect extension. But yeah, they're going to connect through to Rapid City. So that's maybe, Joe. Maybe you get to come back this way. This is an Electrify. So and then Gillette's going to be Electrify America. That's one they've put up already. This is good. And then we know they're going to build out Montana as well and Bismarck. I think this one here is going to be Electrify America. Oh, it says charge point. In fact, that one's already, apparently this one's already live. It's just having an issue right now. All right, let's get back to planning this this wonderful trip. So we're going to start in San Jose and go to Arlington Heights, and we will, you know what, we'll just toggle all charge point Electrify America. So my range of my car, and I just happen to know this having done this trip a couple of times, there's no way I'm actually going to make, I'd love the idea of making it all the way to Fernley. That would be hilarious from my house. That would be, but that ignores the fact that you have to go over the Sierra. So whilst you do get some charge back on the way down, you don't get it all. So we're going to stop here in Sacramento, in the Sacramento area. So we'll just add that to my trip. We will then need to do a quick charge in Truckee. So again, we'll add that. And then we're going to want to stop in Reno. We're going to blow past Fernley at that point. Lovelock is going to be coming online soon. Joe, you know how I love planning a trip through Winnemucca. I mean, that just makes my day.
I'm glad I could help.
It says under repair. So where August is, so this is this morning. It's still Electrify America. This has been going on.
This is months in the making.
Yeah. Let's just go into view more here for a few seconds. So only 1 out of 4 chargers working, but maxed out at 35. It is, this isn't the cars, because we know this. I actually managed to get 120 and change, but only off one head. Yeah, only station 2 would work, and it's slow. Yeah, Walmart has free Wi-Fi, so the kids can stream shows. That's not compensation. Here back in July, you see this person here said they got 150. No, their maximum charge they got was 32. They're talking about the Chatterman. So where's my? I'm in here somewhere.
We've been back in June.
Only number 4 is working above 30. So yeah, only one of them was pushing above that unit. This site is just BS. But remember, the big issue they have is people putting stickers on their units. We're going to blow past. We're going to hit Elko because we got to do Elko, and then we're going to go to West Wendover, which is one of our favorite charging sites. We're going to hit Salt Lake City. Now, this is where it gets interesting because we can't get across here. And so we are going to have to add a...
So I know why it's doing this. I-70, due to the mudslides in Colorado, is shut down.
Hold on. That's a different issue. I think you meant you. So I got to add a stop here. I have to add Green River, Utah. I have to, before we can add a let me just, if I do that, it will then vary the route, and we'll talk about that in a second. Because yeah, it's there. It's already done it, my friend. But you have to force it south. It does. It's not. It doesn't think in these terms. So from Green River. Now this is where it gets interesting. You can, depending on your charge, I would probably go to
Spanish Fork.
Yeah, Spanish Fork, and then I would actually factor this in here, which is the price, free charging in price, which runs at 70 kilowatts. Because this length of journey is such that thing. Now here you then get some choices, because as our man here says, right now as we're recording this on the 3rd of August, 70 doesn't exist here at Glenwood Springs. This entire section of road has gone with recent storms. I'm just going to Transport Evolved actually had some. Here we are. This was crazy. So this is I-70. I was I won't put a link in it, but just go to my channel and see day 1, day 2. Yeah, the day I had my battery issue. I was driving along here. I was driving along here at speeds in excess of the speed limit. I was having a great day. The river came up and has just ripped out the road. This is part of the upper deck. This is not messing around. This is crazy.
This was day 1 on my trip, and yeah, I don't know that they even have a time that this can be fixed by. I mean, this is serious damage.
Yeah, this isn't good. And so what they're suggesting is that, instead of just the straight, what we call going through Vail and Denver, you now have to go up through Steamboat, which is a big thing. Now, thankfully, it is possible. You can basically, this route here is what we're talking about. And the good news is it is still possible with an EV. But only just because, so we know the dinosaur location that has existed for a while.
Yeah, it's got issues though, as I showed in my video. But the key one is that one in the middle that you have highlighted, Craig, Utah. That's, I think, only been online for a couple months, and that's a key lifeline to get across this route.
This only came on board at the beginning of July, and even then. It's how you proceed from. I'm going to add that one because you would have to, whether you're going to you're still not going to go to Cheyenne. So here again, it isn't aware. No one in their right mind is going to go to Laramie and go to Cheyenne to plug in at the 22 kilowatt CCS charger in Cheyenne. So let me just add Fort Morgan. So I'm going to add. This is just forcing the route. add a stop, Fort Morgan, Walmart. Because who doesn't want to go to and now, oh, still won't do it.
I think it's showing Arlington Heights and then backtracking. So just
oh.
Yep. There we go.
There we go.
Yep.
So now we can get back onto the Denver routing. You're gonna want to hit the Colorado Mills. This is where I saw the Nissan prototype. And then we're going to get to the, oh, no, where's Fort Morgan gone? There it is. Oh, I haven't got enough juice to get to Fort Morgan. That's not true, because I've done this trip and I can get to Fort Morgan easily from there. We'll let that go for, oh, hold on, that's why. Let me,
okay, yep.
Let me remove that. And we'll add the shell just to, now, from there, oh, it's hidden it because it's, so if you know something's there, you've got to be careful because the icon is actually hiding it. Let me just add that in there. And let me just remove the shell because it's not required. Charging, and from there, we'll go to Ogallala. Make sure you put a little bit extra in at Fort Morgan to get to Ogallala. It's the wind can get you, as I found out the hard way. I'm going to then go to Lexington. I'm going to bypass that one because it's not needed.
You mean you don't want to go to Grand Island?
I'm going to have to go to Grand Island. You know, driving it. So this is where it gets interesting because at some point you got to stop and sleep. And if you're going to do that in this area, the only place to do that is Lexington. The only hotels with level 2 chargers anywhere around there is Lexington. It's the Holiday Inn. Ogallala has charging as well at the hotel, and you can watch my video, watch the day 2 video or day 3 video where I rant about the fact that they're charging $250 for a Best Western motel right now in this current market. Everyone's got the thing. Grand Island, yeah, you and I have spoken about this before. These chargers take a beating. And then the Huddle House is this appears to be, yeah, this is a new one. This didn't exist a few weeks ago. First check-ins July 24th. So which is interesting. But from here to Grand Island, we'd actually go all the way to why aren't we seeing
There should be Council Bluffs. I'm not sure why it's not showing up.
Right? It's here. I've been there too many times.
It's a Walmart Sam's Club.
Yeah, I'm gonna add, oh, just to keep this moving. There we go, Council Bluffs. He didn't think we could reach. Well, we know we can, because we've done it. I think we've got enough planning here for the moment. Let's rather than work our way across the entire country. So we've got our plan and we're going to save it. Now here's where this gets good. Let me stop sharing my screen for a minute. And I'm going to share my screen on my phone again. Jupiter, sorry. Someone from work has just pinged me about something. We'll deal with that in a minute. Share screen. Start now. Now, if I go into Plugshare and I go to trips, my trip to Arlington Heights magically appears. Now, whilst it's going to show me everything, the thing that's important here is you'll see, Joe, one of the icons is bigger than the other, and that's the one we're closest to and where we're heading. And this is my favorite feature by none. I've got my trip locked in. I know where I'm going to charge. I just click on it. And then I can just navigate straight to it using Waze. And give it a few seconds because I'm inside it and I have to work out the GPS location. But there we go. A bit of a delay between on the Zoom. One of the things I really like is it does it based on GPS coordinates as well, so it's incredibly accurate. It will actually put you into the location, and there we go. 131 miles, 2 hours and 44 minutes from here. I can use the HOV lanes because of my electric car, and I am good to go. When I get to my next, when I'm charged, as I'm charging up, I'll have checked in, which is nice to do. So I can do my check-in while I'm there, hit the back button, and then I can load in the next stop and do the same again. And I'm doing this it's all connected. It's a great way of setting up these trips. You hadn't done this yourself yet. This was new to you.
I have not. I've always used a Better Route Planner as my method of trip planning.
Well, you know what? As you mentioned that, let's do a Better Route Planner. So, Better Route Planner is a fantastic app. I have to be careful here because otherwise it'll publish my address and I have to blur it out. They're fairly easy to find. I know these things. So here's a really straightforward way of getting from San Jose, California to Arlington Heights, Cook County, Illinois. Does this mean you have to pay your tax to the Cook County Collector of Commissions?
Yeah, just like in Blues Brothers.
Cue the music, baby. Cue the big music. Well, this calculates. So there is we'll decide whether or not it goes live. I had the face cam going while I was in Medford, and I mistakenly hadn't turned it off, and this created a problem because I suddenly realized, like, why do I have what was meant to be 2 minutes of recording? I was just doing an in and out of whichever charger it was, state of charge, charging time update. Well, I didn't turn off the camera, and I was all alone. And what I do to keep myself awake is I sing. And yeah, there is in my bloopers reel is a version of me singing "Hold On, I'm Coming." The Eric Clapton and BB King version. I love the Sam and Dave version, by the way, but I love Slowhand's way of doing these things, and it just I love the contrast. Now, what took minutes and way longer than I should have done to do in Plugshare, a Better Route Planner has done for us instantly. It is traffic aware, because I wouldn't naturally think it was quicker to drive halfway to Los Angeles down to Bakersfield, which is what's down here.
Screen's not shared.
Oh, the whole time I was doing these things and you never even knew. All right, hold on. Let me share my screen. Thanks, Joe. So it's already plotted the entire route. Now there are some settings in here where I specify that I prefer Electrify America. You can prefer any network you want, and you can also say you don't want to charge at locations, and that's all fine. But notice it's saying, first of all, that our total trip time is going to be 42 hours and change with 10 hours of charging. And you've heard Joe and I talk about this in the past. It's actually under accounts on the charging curve. The car actually performs better than the data they currently have, although they're getting better all the time. So you can save a few percent of time on here. My settings say to come in at 4% because I run a tight ship and I don't want to charge longer than I have to. And I have my what they call the on and off time set to 5 minutes. But here it will take us down towards LA, Bakersfield, across the Tehachapi's, then up 70 to this here, which is Green River. Now, what's interesting, Joe, is see the deliberate mistake?
Yep, they're sending us down a road that is closed.
So let me have a quick go into the settings and put live, make it live, change this to 100. This is where you can vary, and so I just keep it on the quickest arrival. I actually played with this function on my recent road trip. I gotta tell you, the quickest arrival thing, the shorter legs thing, it's actually pretty accurate. Let me optimize here. So destination arrival stock 10% is fine. Charge coming at 3%, maximum of 80 when charging a DC fast charger. I'm going to set my degradation to 1% with a 2-minute overhead. Let's see if doing the live traffic thing fixes that bug on I-70. It might say that it's now quicker to go the other way. We will see. While this is coming up, Joe, your trip to Montana, what's you're going to come down 80 to Salt Lake and then head up the side of Yosemite?
That's the way, or you mean Yellowstone? That's the way back. On the way out there, I'm going to take that northern route that Transport Evolved had alluded to through Craig, Colorado, and I'll cut through up to Jackson. I'm relying on a destination charger in Rock Springs, Wyoming. So that'll be the key charging stop of the trip.
Well, that's where your Tesla adapter is going to come in, my friend, because they do have a J1772, but they do have 3 Tesla destination chargers at that hotel. I assume you're talking about the
Best Western. Yep, that's where I'm staying.
When I stayed there, this is when I cannonballed the Tesla to Wyoming, to Cheyenne and back in 3 days, 3,000 miles in 3 days. That was my one time to get sleep because I didn't have to get to Cheyenne until 2. There was no point in me getting there between 2, so I could actually get some sleep. Their cleaning crew didn't get that memo and came banging on the damn door at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'd only got in at like, I don't know, 2:30 in the morning. And we were in full COVID lockdown. Even Wyoming was taking it serious at the time. And I didn't need to get that breakfast bun that had been wrapped in 5 layers of saran wrap that badly. So they have a glitch, my friend. I can't believe we both love this, but it's not aware of the issue right now. So I would have to manually program it. It's Glenwood Springs is the problem.
Yep,
which is
that's the one.
So the solution is to add. We're going to add this come and go as a waypoint.
And that should fix it, because that's what I had to do as well.
I think that should be enough.
Because actually, when I had put in Rock Springs as my first destination, I didn't even think that was possible. But once I added the waypoint, I mean, all these softwares are evolving all the time. But as long as you know the route you're trying to roughly get, they're a lifesaver. They're not a do-it-all.
No, you do need to think about this. A little bit of planning goes wrong, but you know, it's a bit more planning than a gas journey, because I just, you know, skip between flying J's every 400 miles. That's what we do in the RV. But let's see how it handles this. Yeah, I'd love to get Kyle's comment on this one, because you see, what I would do is if I was coming, you know, going in that direction, just because it's pretty, it might not be very, very quick, but I would come this way through, I think this is the Estes Park. It's beautiful driving, yeah, through here by Twin Peaks. And
I'm working on getting a reservation. Everything's still in lockdown there, so very, very, very restrictive of the amount of people they're allowing in the park.
It is, but if you can, it's worth it. And
Absolutely.
sure enough, there's our entire trip. Now, the great thing about this is exactly the same as, I can save this. I'm going to save this as a new plan. And we're going to call this just going to shows. So I can save that in there. If I stop sharing and start sharing back on my phone, and fire up a better route planner. I can,
Yep, there it is.
Grab going to Joe's, and it'll automatically calculate it. And all you have to do when you're on your road trip, in fact, I'll just stop this. When you're on your road trip, all you have to do to get an update on how much energy you need to go from where you are right now is click on my position, change your battery to whatever it might actually be at this moment, and hit the calculate button. And that will tell you how much charge you need to get to wherever it is you've already preset for your next. Sorry, Joe, late night. And that will tell you what you get. And this is what I was using to get when I was doing my trip. I don't know if while I'm sharing that screen, I'll see if I can bring this up on my other screen. Yeah. While that is doing that, let me just switch screen. I just took a screenshot of the plan, just so I had it in my I had it with me to get back on my most recent trip. And you know what? This was accurate. In fact, I outperformed this. It was kind of, well, I changed it slightly. I got to Anderson at exactly the same amount. I actually charged up less because you'll notice it says I need to go to 60%, but I would come in at 24, and it's pretty flat between these two locations. There was a little bit of wind. I only charged to 50%. And then I overcharged at Willows because Electrify America was having a bad day. God, I'm so fucking tired. Electrify America was having a bad day in Willows. If you see me on my tweet, I actually mentioned it on there. 3 of the 4 units weren't working. One had a bad screen, but they could manually start things. One was out of order. The one I tried to connect to couldn't start a session. It couldn't connect, and the other one was working. A lovely lady I met there. Hi, you. I know you subscribed. Had a Chevy Bolt, and we were talking so much that I ended up overcharging, and then I only charged at Vacaville for 8 minutes. This is me getting over my prednisone. This is me still recovering from pneumonia. I get into the afternoons and I get a shortage of cortisol. So people, I'm not sick, I'm better, but side effects of the illness. Joe, I mean, I think that's everything I would talk about with the Better Route Planner, and I've done way too much talking today, Joe. What do you want to add?
No, I think it's just it's an app that you don't need, but it will severely cut down the amount of anxiety that you can encounter on a trip. just being able to, like you showed the calculator, if you're driving between two chargers and you see a mountain ahead of you and you aren't sure how much that'll cost you to get over, throw your current state of charge in the calculator, put in your destination, and if it says you're going to arrive with -% battery, slow down and you'll make it fine.
Joe raises the most important point here. That is the key difference between a better route planner and everything else. It knows about mountains. It knows the energy efficiency of the car. And that is what makes the difference. Plugshare is, you're guessing on how far you can go, but you may not know. If you've been over the Sierras a couple of times, you'll be aware. But if you aren't, you won't. A better route planner gets all that stuff. And I will say, it hasn't failed me yet. It's come close, but that was me failing it, not the other way around. That was me driving too hard in adverse wind conditions. But, well, this has been a long, talky episode, Joe. Might not be what we planned, but I think we've put some useful information into this one.
Yep, it was definitely a deep dive into the necessary apps of EV ownership.
Now, it won't be the next episode, and Joe and I were talking about this beforehand. It probably won't be a me and Joe video. It'll just be a John video because of how I'm going to have to set this up to do the demonstration and stuff. But I will, in coming weeks, do a deep dive into a better route planner, working with an app called EV Notify and using a Bluetooth dongle. I won't go into the specifics right now, but that is how I got all the way from San Francisco to New York and back with what I would call a Tesla-like experience, where the car knew, where the apps knew how much charge I was, what my consumption was, and I was getting an optimized route every second or so. Didn't change it often, but it told me when I could put the foot down and when I had to hold back without me having to do any calculations. The whole thing was truly dynamic. It does need a deep dive in its own right, but I can't even start recording that because of a service thing that needs to happen. Joe, my car went through 15,000 miles this week. I can't believe it happened so quickly. Joe, you're going to start your trip in less than 30 hours. So I want to say good luck, be safe. Make sure you send out, keep us up to date on what's going on social media. Are you going to be tweeting some of this stuff, possibly?
For sure, Instagram. I'll try to start being more regular on Twitter. Everything will be checked in on Plugshare.
So I'm just showing my boomerism here. Joe's down with the IG. Joe's down with the IG. If it doesn't happen on IG, Joe wasn't there. Follow Joe on IG. If you have any questions, and hopefully we've created one or two, we should have answered more, but hopefully we've created a few. That's what the comment section is for. Either of us will come back to you. Please subscribe to our channels, like and share. It does great things for the algorithm and for us growing this channel. We've got great plans for this channel, and I think, Joe, let's make a commitment right now. The next time we record, the podcast that isn't a podcast will have a new long-term name. And if you have, and here, all right, if you have an idea for the name, put it in the comments. Joe, it was a pleasure.
As always, take care.
Take care.